Charter schools. Charter schools have been a fundamental part of the ACT Party policy for a long period of time. For as long as, the ACT Party's been around, really. There's always been a great distrust within that political environment for state schools because of their homogeneity, I guess, to a certain extent, but also for their ability to propagandise and utilise or misutilise the school environment in many cases to espouse, anything from wokery to socialism. And so charter schools also, though, weren't seen necessarily as an antidote to that. I guess that's what the integrated school movement's for in private schools. But they were seen as a way of uplifting children who'd been left behind by the state system, who were manifestly failing within it. And the suggestion was, well, if we do things differently, we'll get a different outcome. If we do things the same, we'll get the same outcome. And charter schools were a part of doing things differently. Well, somebody who's been a proponent of that, former school principal himself, education commentator, and he is promoting actively 3 or 4 charter schools, I think, to go through the process because they're meant to be up and running next year. So just to give you an example, today's the 13th of November. The next school year ain't too far away. It's about 2.5 months away before the next school year starts. So, but there appears to be a fly in the ointment. Joining us to talk about that is the promoter of charter schools, Alwyn Poole. He joins us now. Alwyn, welcome to the show. Good morning to you.
Hi, Michael. Am I actually visible this time?
Yeah, sadly, people can see you.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say.
You see, you look all right though.
I need to.
No, that's right. Yeah, where'd you get that haircut? Yeah, it looks like you've been to the hospital.
Right. So I got married about 6 months ago, and she says that if my hair is longer, I look about 70, maybe even 80. But if she cuts it herself, I get down to 54.
Yeah, that's not bad actually. And listen, you used to play rugby. I've seen your name. I know. Listen, I'll come back to charter schools in a second. You will not believe this, but I belong to a Facebook site. I think it's called Old Wanganui, words to that effect.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Yep.
And they publish sometimes stuff that came out of my childhood and or my adolescence in this particular case. And there's a rugby game between Wanganui and Manawatu. But in the curtain raiser, I noticed an Alwyn Poole, I think, appearing for either Wanganui secondary schools or something like that. Is that right? Would that be you?
Well, I did play 8 games in 1987 for Wanganui, including a Ranfurly Shield game, a game against New Zealand Māoris, Taranaki, Wellington.
What position did you play?
Look, excuse me, I put on a little bit of weight, but I was halfback at the time.
Looking like that, you can't be right. Mind you, Byron Callagher looks like you.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Halfbacks are big these days.
Have you been talking to Luciana, my wife, today? Because, she's really gone on a tear about the weight thing. But no.
That's what happens when you get married. You get content. You've got the woman now. You don't need to worry. The weight goes on.
Vegetarian, all sorts. And so I just need to lean on your shoulder today, Michael. Is that okay?
Well, can I just ask this question of you? Where are you living now?
In Dairy Flat in Auckland, which don't tell anyone about it. It is the most remarkable place. We have, nice. We're renting, but we have 10 beautiful hectares. We have no neighbours. We have keriru. We have all sorts of native birds.
It's a nice area.
It's a beautiful, beautiful area, and don't let any sort of zoning issues spoil it. It's amazing.
There'll be a developer coming in.
I want to bring another piece of good news. So when we've talked about data, and New Zealand high schools not doing as well as I think they should, and you think they should, and many people think they should. So I put out a data process every year for the Levers data, and this year I've offered any schools who work with me on that to work on a 5 to 6 year progression plan. And you'll be delighted to know that we have about 40 schools who have jumped into that for all sorts of progressions, and one of them is Cromwell. And I'm actually really excited about it. I spoke to 30 schools in Hamilton on Friday. It went exceedingly well. And I like that they are taking a position, I guess, of independence to say, hey, we don't need to be told what to do. We can work out how to improve ourselves. We can communicate it to our school community. We can give our teachers and students reason to get out of bed in the morning. And it's actually really exciting. And I'm delighted to have Tom on.
Can I just interrupt you there, though? I'm hearing you say that essentially what you're doing is you're translating readily accessible data over 5 years to those schools. Is that what you're doing?
It's not that accessible in the sense that, so education counts. If there is a good arm of the ministry, it's them.
Yeah.
And they produce this levers data. They send me the raw data. I process it. They put it on their site by individual school. So if you were going to try and work out how things actually stand, it would take you many, many hours. So I do that work for people just because I'm a nice guy. And
you pay them.
But then talking to schools, they're now seeing it as a way to say, hey, this is where we're at. And a lot of the schools are being really honest. But this is where we can get to in the next 5 years.
Well, to be fair, I would imagine that in most cases, the school communities are demanding that they get a bit better because the results have been poor. And I'm not just talking about Cromwell College, I'm talking about in so many of the state secondary schools in this country. All right, that's good. Moving on, charter schools. You have got charter schools, you are promoting, I think, 3 or 4 of them. You expect them to be up, you hope them to be up and running by the start of next year, but you're striking problems. What are those problems?
So I'm a huge supporter of the policy idea. I have travelled, to many places to investigate what works and what doesn't. I thought it was an amazing opportunity that was introduced in 2011. It wasn't introduced well. It left all of the schools extremely vulnerable. And of course, the ministry had a huge handbrake on it because they hate to relinquish control. So the model folded, and Chris Hipkins and Jacinda Ardern were able to really close it down very quickly once they got in power. To David Seymour's credit, he didn't give up on the idea. He came back and said, we will reintroduce it. He made that part of the coalition agreement. But like 78 others, well, it's less than 78, but something like that. Sorry, Michael.
Right, I'll turn that off, no doubt.
Yep, just done it. So something, that will be David now. So something, like that situation, 78 odd people, we put in 4 applications because we are well aware of the data overseas that says that a highly effective multi-provider is probably better than single provisions. And we believe we can bring that to it. So in good faith, we went to the application process. We were told that there would be a charter school agency that would facilitate and communicate with applicants, but their only job in terms of applicants was to acknowledge that they were, or find out if they were good and proper people. And thankfully I passed and my team passed. I've got a remarkable group of directors behind us, and that we were capable of producing. Now, given that I've started 4 schools in my time, clearly that's not particularly debatable.